Okay, boys and girls, this is a small video as a reminder of how to complete some of the Delta math. Feel free to skip along to a skill if you find some of them easier than others. The first skill we're going to take a look at is parabola features that you have. Parabola features. Now, when we do parabola features, we are just reading the question and the graph. Reading the question and the graph. In this question, it's asking us for the vertex. And if you will recall, the vertex is always the furthest point at the bottom. The furthest point at the bottom. So a vertex will only have, as we've talked about in class, one point. And looking, whoops, I just moved the dot. And looking at the vertex that we have, we can tell that it is at, remember, we're going to write x, comma, y. What's the x coordinate? It's going to be -4, comma, what's the y coordinate? -4. Yeah, so -4, comma, -4 appears to be the vertex, -4. Remember, the vertex is it's the point of where you have a minimum or a maximum, a minimum or a maximum. -4, comma, -4. Let's check out another one. Now it's going to ask us where the x-intercepts are. In most situations, you will have 2. But sometimes you will have 2 x-intercepts. So here we have 2 points. The x-intercept, if you will recall, always goes across the x-axis, everyone, the x-axis. And it is when y is 0. So we already know that the x-intercept is always going to be when y is 0 and 0. That is when you have a x-intercept. And it looks like the 2 dots that I drew were at -2 and at -6. -2 and -6. Okay? So read the question carefully. What is it asking you? What is it asking you? Okay, read the questions carefully. What's another word for roots? I think we've seen this or heard this in class, but I'm pretty sure it's the same as the x-intercept. Roots has the same meaning as the x-intercept. And here, it looks to be at -3, comma, 0, because an x-intercept is always when y is 0. When y is 0. So we have one at -3 and we have another at -7, comma, 0, comma, 0. Most of the time you will have 2 x-intercepts. Most of the time you will have 2. Not always, but sometimes you will have 1. -3 and -7. Roots is another word for x-intercept. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at another one. Determine the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry. So if we will recall from class, the axis of symmetry is always where the parabola is the same. And we must always write it. The axis of symmetry, everyone, the axis of symmetry is always going to be written in the form x equals. And we look for where on the x-axis, donde, we have a symmetry. And when I draw a line, it looks to be, just about right there. So x equals -6. -6 for the axis of symmetry. When you do that, you only for this type of question, axis of symmetry, do you choose one equation and you type in x equals where the symmetry happens. X equals -6. where the symmetry happens. Where the symmetry happens, okay? X equals -6. Let's look at another one. Oof, I love it. The y-intercept, our favorite little friend, right? And there's only going to be ever one, solo uno, y-intercept. There will only ever be one y-intercept. So we have 1 point for the y-intercept, and it appears that in this equation, we have our y-intercept at 5. So we know that x for the y-intercept is when x equals 0. The y-intercept is when x equals 0, comma, 5, because that's where it goes across the y-axis at 5, 0, comma, 5. Okay. So let's keep on going. 0, comma, 5. Let's see what other kinds of questions we get. Coordinates of the vertex. Now here we're going to ask for coordinates of the vertex. Remember, the vertex is where you have the furthest point, south, in this case, right here. We're always going to write it x, comma, y. X, -2. Y, -1. -2, comma, -1. There's only one point that you have a vertex. Solo hay un punto donde tienes un vertex. Only one. There we have it. Okay. Let's do another one. Determine the coordinates of the roots. What's another word for the roots? X-intercept. It means the same thing. And it's when y is 0. So we already know it's 0, and we already know it's 0. We have -8. We have -6. -8 and -6. 2 points. -8, 0. -6, 0. Submit the answer. Check, check. Okay. New problem. Let's look at the one that we've already done enough of. X-intercepts, X-intercepts, Y-intercept. One more of these. One more of the Y-intercepts. If you will recall, the y-intercept is when it goes through the point of the y-axis, the y-axis, the y-axis. So here we have 1 point, because you will only have one y-intercept, 0, comma, 5. You will only have one y-intercept when x is 0. When x is 0, you have a y-intercept. When x is 0. I want to just try and find one more. Here we go. Axis of symmetry. These ones are the tricky ones. Axis of symmetry. Because you must write it as x equals. But when you see axis of symmetry, you must use where it says one equation and type in x equals. What does x equal? Where does it go through? Looks like right here, when x is 1, we have a line of symmetry. So when x is 1, we have a line of symmetry. There we have it. Okay, just remember, these are the tricky ones. For axis of symmetry, I'm going to show the question again. You must always choose one equation. It's the only option where you choose one equation, one equation. One equation, okay? I hope that makes sense. These are the ones I'm hoping everyone gets right, okay? I'm hoping everyone gets these right. Let's look at the second one, graphing parabolas. Now, I am okay should you want to use the graphing calculator that I've given you and then plot the points. I am okay with that. But naturally, you guys know you have to do input, and find out what the output is. Output. Okay, so you must remember, I'm okay if you want to use the graphing calculator, but your midterm will involve you having to do input and then output, just like we did in class. Input and then output. So just to show you guys how to use the graphing calculator, what's left for you in bright space and quadratic equations, very visible. Y equals -x And I'm just going to type in squared. Yeah. And what do we have here? Negative x squared plus 8x. So I'm going to do negative 8 squared plus 8x. And what was the c term? Minus 15. Minus 15. Yeah, so negative 8 squared minus 15. Let me get rid of, sorry, there we go. Now, from that, we get given a graph. And now, because the graphing calculator gave me a graph, I can just put punto, 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 and punto. There's the 5. That's what we need. So I'm going to do 4, 1. I'm going to type in right here, 4, 1, right here. Then what else do we have? We have 3, 0, 3, 0, right here, and 5, 0, because it's a parabola. Whatever happens on one side happens on the other. Then we're going to do over here, what do we have here? 2, -3, and 6, -3. So 2, -3, and 6, -3, and boom. You're allowed to use the graphing calculator. I'm okay with that. But as you can see, you will need to do this for the midterm. I'm okay if you want to use the graphing calculator, but you will need to know how to do the table for the midterm, as we've been doing in class. Let's look at one more question. Okay, over here. We have negative x squared plus 10x minus 21. So let's type that into the graphing calculator, and then I'm going to do the other method. So we have negative x squared plus, 10x minus 21. And there we have it. All right, there we have it, right? So it looks like we have a punto at 5, 4, 5, 4, 4, 3, 6, 3, and 3, 0, and 7, 0. Okay. I'm okay if you want to use the graphing calculator, but you will need to know the other methods, okay? The other methods. 5, 4. Let's type that one in. 5, 4. Boom. Punto. Let's do the same. 4, 3, and 6, 3. So that's 4, 3, and 6, 3. And then we have 3, 0, and 7, 0. Is that correct? Let's check it out. 3, 0, 7, 0. That is correct. So we have it from the graphing calculator, and that is the easy method. But for your midterm, you will need to know how to graph them. For your midterm, you will need to know how to graph them. And as we recall from class, I know this is going to be un poco pesado, but x equals negative b over 2a. And y equals the function, meaning whatever we get for the first part, we put it into the calculator. So let's find out what our x is. Negative b over 2a. So that is negative 6 over 2 times a times 1. Yeah. Negative, positive. 2 times 1, 2. 6 over 2, 3. So we already know that the vertex is going to be 3. Yeah, the vertex is going to be 3, comma. Well, let's find out where the y is. Hay que meter el 3 adentro de la ecuación. Input the result, and find where the vertex is. So we have x times x squared, that's 3 times 3, 3 squared, minus 6 times 3, plus 8. So we have 3 times 3, 9. Negative 6 times 3, negative 18, plus 8. 9 minus 18 minus 9 plus 8 is negative 1. So we now know that the vertex is at 3, negative 1. 3, negative 1. 3, comma, negative 1. And since we know that it opens, we know that this opens, we can also, let me just erase some things here. We can also try some new numbers. Let's try and see what happens when we put 2. So whatever we put into 2, 2 squared minus 6 times 2 plus 8. So that's 4 minus 12 plus 8. 4 minus 12, negative 8. Plus 8, 0. Look what we just found. 0, meaning that our our x-intercept is at 2, comma 0. And if it's 2, 4 must be as well, because it's the axis of symmetry. Let's try and see what happens when we put 0. 0, we get 8. And how many squares from the axis of symmetry right here is that? How many squares is that? That's 1, 2, 3. So therefore, 1, 2, 3. I can put another point there because it's an axis of symmetry, everyone, an axis of symmetry, yeah? This is method number 2, yeah? Using the quadratic formula. Using the quadratic formula. Oops, I didn't put this one correctly. Here it is, that's 6, there we go. Yeah, plus 3. 0 is 8, and 0, comma 8 is 3 away from the axis of symmetry, so 3 plus 3, 6, comma 8. Yeah, 6, comma 8, all right? There we go. Let's try one more. Let's try one more using the method that we just did in class, the vertex formula. The vertex formula, x equals negative b over 2a. So negative b, negative 8. 2a, 2. Negative 8 divided by 2, negative 4. Now what are we going to do? How do we find what our y is? Well, our y we can find by inputting negative 4, inputting negative 4. So y is going to be negative 4 squared plus 8 times negative 4 plus 12. Negative 4 times negative 4, 16. 8 times negative 4, negative 32, plus 12. So 16 minus 32, negative 16, plus the 12 equals negative 4, negative 4. So we know that the vertex is at, let's draw the little point, negative 4x and negative 4y. There we have it. There we have it, yeah? All right. How do we find the other points? Well, this is where we just have to play around with the chart that we learned about in method 1. X, y. Now that I found this, I can choose, let's go with negative 3. Let's see what we get for negative 3. Because whatever negative 3 is, negative 5 will have to be the same. So negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Plus 8 times negative 3 plus 12. So this is equal to 9 minus 24 plus 12. 9 minus 24 should give us negative 15. Yeah, negative 15. And plus 12 should give us negative 15 plus 12 is going to give us negative 3. So we now know that negative 3 comma negative 3 should be another point. And if negative 3 comma negative 3 is here, it's 1 square away from the axis of symmetry, so we can do it 1 square away from the axis of symmetry on the other side. Whatever you have on the axis of symmetry replicates on both sides, everyone. It replicates on both sides, negative 5 and negative 3. Okay, Now let's look at the following situation. What number should we choose next? Well, we just did -3, and we know that -5 is going to be the same as -3 because of the axis of symmetry. Let's try another number over here. Let's try another number. Let's go with -2. Let's see what we get with -2. So -2 times -2 is 4. 8 times -2 is -16 plus the 12. 4 minus 16 is going to give me -12 plus 12. Look at that. We found ourselves our x-intercept, -2 and 0. And if that's -2, 0, -6 has to also be an x-intercept, okay? All right, so I know these take a while. I did minimize them from 10 questions, okay? You don't have 10. I think you have 8 or 6, but I just did 4 in a brief amount of time. You guys can do the same, okay? So you have the parabola as follows. Remember, there are 2 ways of doing it. On the graphing calculator or following the formula of input, output, or the Vertex formula. Either option is available to you. Either option is available to you. Okay. Check out this next one. This one's a nice multiple choice one. Nice multiple choice one, okay? Now, if you will recall, I'm going to do a new problem. When we have A as positive, we have a smiley face. Smiley face. And when we have A as negative, we have a sad face. Sad face. So using that knowledge, the only sad face I see here is this one, sad face. But what about this? A is equal to 1 and A is equal to 0.25. The smaller the number, the wider the parabola. I'm going to say that again. The smaller the number, the wider the parabola. So which number is smaller? A equals 1 or 0.25? This is smaller and this is bigger. 1 is bigger than 0.25. And this is wider and this is narrow. The bigger the number, the narrower the parabola. The narrower the parabola. The bigger the number, the narrower the parabola. The narrower the parabola. Okay? All right. So let's check it out. I'm pretty sure this is going to be good. This is a nice multiple choice one. We're going to take a look at this. And here's the information they're going to give you. When you have A is positive, happy face. A is negative, sad face. A has a big, A has a big number, small magnitude. Sorry, a small magnitude for small number. Narrow magnitude for a big number. Let's take a look at a couple more of these, yeah? Looking at this, it looks like we have 1 that's going to be a happy face because these are -1 and this is -4. So the only happy face one I see is this one right here. Perfect. But what about the others? What about the others that we have there? Looks like we have A is -1 and -4. Which of these numbers is bigger? A is -4 is bigger than A is -1, smaller. So knowing that, the narrow option is always going to be the bigger option. Narrow, big number. Small number, wide. Yeah, small number, wide, big number. Small number, wide, big number, narrow. Yeah. Yeah, ancho. Ancho for a big number. Ancho para un número grande, ¿ok? Un número pequeño, un poco más gordito la línea, ¿ok? Take a look at one more. -1, Negative 0.4. So which is the only happy face? This is the only happy face. It's the only one that's positive. But which number is bigger? Negative 4 or negative 1? Negative 4 is bigger than negative 1. So therefore, it's going to be narrow. I'm going to move that over. Narrow for negative 4. Wide for negative 1. Smaller number. Smaller number. Okay? Oh, what did I just do here? Oh, Jesus Christ, David, you didn't even. All right, I'm going to do one more of these. It's getting late here, Chicos. I'm sorry. One more second. Just 1 second. If this will ever load. Jesus. You see, that's what happens, David. When you do this late at night, then it just goes all haywire. Okay. Give it 1 second, Chicos. This is not playing games with me at the moment. Loading. Wow. Okay, my internet went out, Chico, sorry, as well as me muting myself. Okay. I hope everyone's following. Sorry about that. Just to go over this again, you guys probably didn't hear me. A equals 4, narrow. A equals 1, wider. Negative, sad face. Okay, negative, sad face. Yeah. All right. Yeah, there we go. Let's look at one more. Which one are these? Oh, they're all negatives. Okay, wow, they're all negatives here. But we do know that the smallest number is the widest parabola, which appears to be this one right here, the widest parabola. So we know this is going to be negative 0.25. It's the widest of them all. It doesn't even fit on the graph. Negative 1 needs to be the second widest, which appears to be this one right here. And negative 4 is always very narrow, super narrow, muy ancho, super ancho, yeah? So we know that this is the one that's going to fit, all right? There we go, negative 4, okay? But what else do we have? We have axis of symmetry. Find the equation of the axis of symmetry using the following parabola. Now, here is something critical, chicos, critical. When it says axis of symmetry, I must write my answer as x equals. What does x equal? Well, use the following equation, right? Just like you did an ed puzzle. Negative b over 2a. X equals negative 8, because that's my b term, over 2 times negative 1. Negative 1, yeah? Negative 8 over negative 2. We know as a fact that negative negatives cancel, and that leaves us with 4. So x equals 4. You must write your answer as x equals something when it asks for the axis of symmetry. When it asks for the axis of symmetry. So x equals 4. Submit. New problem. Okay. Here we're going to do the same. Find the equation of the axis of symmetry. Well, wait a second. There's no b term. No b term. Remember, the number on itself is actually the fill in the blank c term. The number on itself is the c term, not the b term. So here, this is going to be a fun question because x is going to be equal to negative 0 over 2 times 1. You can't divide 0 by anything, so 0. Yeah, 0. Remember, if there's no b term, you always have x equals 0 as the axis of symmetry. If there is no b term, you always have x equals y-axis, 0. Yeah? All right. Here we go. Here we go. This is the question I'm looking for. Vertex, everyone. Vertex. And they want you to write the answer as x, comma, y. They want you to write the answer as x, comma, y. So x is equal to negative b over 2a, which is negative 16. Negative 16 over 2 times negative 4. Negative 16 is 16 over 2 times negative 4, negative 8. 16 divided by negative 8, negative 2. So we now know that negative 2, comma, how do we find the y? Y is going to be when we input, I'm going to change the color here, input our result into x, input our result into x, and find out what our output is. Find out what the output is, yeah? So we now have negative 4 brackets, negative 2 squared minus 16 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. Negative 4 times 4 is 16. And negative 16 times negative 2 is 32. Yeah, 32. Okay. So 16 plus 32 should give us 48. Yeah, 48. So negative 2, comma. Let me just erase this so that we can see it. Pause the video if you need it. Negative 2, comma. Oops, I forgot to put the brackets. Negative 2, comma, 48 is going to be our vertex. Our vertex. Oh, Jesus Christ, David. Like I said, don't do this late because you're going to make errors like I do. Don't do this late because you will make errors like I just did. Okay, we're going to punish ourselves with another question. Okay, here we go. Find the equation. Okay, we're going to do the same vertex one because we just did axis of symmetry, here we go. All right, here we go. Do not do these fast. I'm trying to do these fast. This is not the way to do this. X equals negative b over 2a. What's my b term? Negative 8. Negative 8 over 2 times 1. Negative 8 over 2 equals negative 4. So now we know that it's going to be, because it's always going to be in the x, comma, y, negative 4, comma, don't do what I just did and do this quickly. This actually does take time. Negative 4 squared plus 8 times negative 4 plus 32. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. 8 times negative 4 is negative 32 plus 32. Yeah, should give us 16. My y coordinate is 16. So negative 4 comma 16 is where the vertex will be. Negative 4 comma 16. Don't do what I did earlier and rush this process. Whoops. Brackets, negative 4 comma 16. Enter. There we go. Jesus, David. Okay. One more, chicos. One more. Here we go. Look at this. Remember, we can interpret this quite simply because x is going to be negative b over 2a. Those of you that are good with this, you might already realize we don't even need the equation because we know that x is 0. And when I put y, x is 0 into the function, we get 0 squared plus 9. 0 times 0, 0. Plus 9, 9. 0, comma 9 is going to be our result. 0, comma 9. If you ever have a missing b term, you already have your vertex for the y. You already have the vertex for the y. All right. Let's do one more of these. One more where it's asking us for the vertex, because these are the ones I think that you guys might have a little bit more trouble with. When we have x equals negative b over 2a, we know that b, x equals negative brackets negative 6 over 2 brackets negative 1. Negative, negative, positive. Negative 1 times 2, negative 2. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. Okay, negative 3. Y equals negative brackets negative 3 squared minus 6 times negative 3 minus 2. Y equals negative 3 times negative 3, 9. Negative 9. Negative 6 times negative 3 plus 18 minus 2. Negative 9 plus 18 is 9. Minus 2 is 7. So we now know that we have a vertex at negative 3, 7. Negative 3, 7. Brackets, negative 3, comma, 7. Negative 3, comma, 7. Okay? All right. Let's do one more. One more. I still got some time, and if you're bored, just leave the video. If you're bored, just leave the video. And I'm not going to feel insulted. X equals negative b over 2a, which is negative brackets negative 14 brackets over 2 times negative 1. So that's negative negative 14. 2 times negative 1, negative 2. 14 divided by negative 2, x equals negative 7. All right, so there we have our x coordinate. We already know it's going to be negative 7, comma. Let's find out what the y is going to be. What's the y going to be? The y is going to be input, negative brackets negative 7 squared minus 14 times negative 7 minus 42. So y is equal to negative 7 times negative 7, negative 49. Negative 14 times negative 7, positive 98. Minus 42. So y is equal to negative 49 plus 98 is going to give you positive 49. Minus 42 is going to give you 7. So negative 7, comma, 7. Final answer. Negative 7, comma, 7. Let's type that in. Negative 7, comma, 7. Close brackets. There we go. Okay. You are recommended to use the formula, but should you want to ever maybe just copy and paste, but you remember the x squared, yeah. Oops, let me just delete this one. There we go. All right. Negative, let's see. If I zoom out, did I type this one in correctly? No, I did not. 3x squared plus 6x minus 12, 3x squared plus 6x minus 12. Yeah. Axis of symmetry. Well, you just have to look at the graph and say, where is the graph with the axis of symmetry? It looks like it's at x equals negative 1. You can always just do this on the graphing calculator. X is equal to negative 1. All right. Yeah. Yeah, chicos, I'm okay if you use the graphing calculator, but this is a formativo activity. You're going to want to develop these skills for the midterm. Okay? I'm okay with it, but you're going to want to develop these skills for the midterm. All right. If you need anything, I'll be available. And I also hope to see some of you in CIA. Have a good day.